First of all, we owe you a bit of an apology, since we did say our target was to keep our content to 90 seconds. We gave ourselves an exemption for our first episode, but as it turns out, hitting the 90 seconds target is actually quite hard. We will still endeavour to meet our voluntary target of 90 seconds because we know it's the right thing to do, but there's no guarantee, and because there's no consequence to missing our target, then there's probably a reasonable chance we'll miss our target again. Voluntary commitments and targets with no penalties all have a nexus to net zero. In fact, target setting seems to be the primary tool being deployed to mitigate climate risk at the moment. All good fodder for future episodes.
Hi there, this is episode 379 of Net Zero in 90 Seconds. The inspiration for this week's episode is the Imperial College Business School's Climate Risk Workshop that I attended last week. The keynote was given by Professor Ray Pierrehumbert on the science of the greenhouse effect. Given that net zero is first and foremost about the science, then the beginning seems like an excellent place to start. We started with an explainer on the greenhouse gas effect, and I think this would be a good opportunity for a quick refresher.
Energy in from the sun must be balanced by energy lost to space by infrared radiation. Infrared radiation to space increases with Earth's temperature. When additional greenhouse gas is added to the atmosphere, the rate of energy lost by infrared goes down. The planet must then warm up until balance is restored. The reduction in infrared energy loss by a given increase in a greenhouse gas is called radiative forcing. More radiative forcing equals more warming.
So what stood out for me? Greenhouse gases have different properties, and the time horizon chosen to determine their global warming potential makes big differences in the outcomes. And it's because of these differences we should not trade greenhouse gases against each other. CO2 is a stock pollutant. HFCs and methane are flow, or mostly flow, pollutants. And because of the length of time that CO2 remains in the atmosphere, every ton of CO2 matters, and if we don't solve for CO2, none of the other greenhouse gases mean much of a difference. So what is net zero for me? My net zero is definitely about the science, it's about advances in technology, but it's also about the economics. Net zero is the mitigation pathway for climate risk, and the science dictates the atmosphere is finite at a certain temperature target. The utilization of the carbon budget is determined by the carbon cycle. CO2 into the atmosphere is driven by how we deliver joules, or energy, and our consumption of energy is driven by the cheapest to deliver. Modern society has been built upon the combustion of cheap hydrocarbons. CO2 out is the role of carbon sinks, and since the dawn of civilization, direct air capture has been performed by nature. There are two market failures at play. First of all, we don't pay to use the atmosphere. Secondly, we don't attribute a value to carbon sinks. We can't change the science. We can continue to advance technology, but in order to truly address the market failures, we must change the economics and solve for the ultimate scarce resource, the finite atmospheric carbon budget.